All right, everybody, welcome back. Sam's Army, episode 2.242. We got a lot to talk about this week. We're going to start out with headlines, where we'll talk Women's World Cup 2027 and Bundesliga media deals. Weekly What If, the reverse Ted Lasso. Premier League, we'll talk good, no, not good, great evening, Chelsea or Everton, and whether Liverpool might just kill United this coming weekend. Round the world, MLS Cup Champions League, Girona and Santos, and then stoppage time with Ivan Toney's best bets and everybody's favorite segment, Goas. Now, time to welcome in this week's panel of Scouse heavy beauties, starting with Tyler Terrens, who is just getting started enjoying his off season, which begs the question, Mr. Terrens, how does a full-time MLS analyst commentator spend your off season? What other than playing pickup basketball, what do you do?
Pick up soccer, do some Sirius XM radio hosting, which has fortunately fallen onto my lap recently. And I've told you about my novel in the works, right? Tommy Brewster, the young.
It's been a while. It has been a while.
Yeah, Tommy Brewster. The concept of Tommy Brewster is back in my mind. The actual execution of whether or not I'm going to get a single page down this offseason is still up in the air. I started this. Oh God, I started during COVID. I got like 45 pages down. I was cooking. And then right when I had to make a couple decisions on some character development, I just hit writer's block, and that writer's block has lasted the better part of 3 years. So we're trying to get back on the horse. That's the big project. I promised myself I was going to finish that book in the next 2 or 3 months, but we'll see.
All right, I like it. We need an update on Tommy Brewster one of these weeks. We won't get it from you now. We'll give you a couple weeks to sort of get that writer's block unblocked, and have the words flowing. But we need an update. I love that. I love that you're doing a novel, and I can't believe I forgot.
I'm not doing a novel. It's literally been 3 years since I've written down a single word.
You're still doing it, though. You're still thinking about it. That's what's important. All right. Next up, Mr. Dalton Kemper, who, little known fact, is a big car racing guy. Mr. Kemper,
you dig deep on that one?
Well, listen, it's a very unique thing. You don't see a lot of crossover between the soccer world and the car racing world. So, how do you even say it? Between like F1, NASCAR, IndyCar, what's your favorite circuit? What's your favorite league? What's your favorite? How do you even ask the question?
Racing series.
Okay,
yeah, it'd be the racing series. Yep, my favorite of the three.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah, I think there's even less crossover here because I'm going to say NASCAR because growing up, that was like always every Sunday. Instead of, it's going to sound nuts, but instead of American football in my dad's house, it was NASCAR. And everyone's like, what part of the country in Southern Hickorbilly place did this guy grow up? Middle of Illinois. So, yeah, I've always been a big motorsports guy, but if I had to pick one between the three, I'd go NASCAR, but any given weekend, I'm watching all three. So
okay, fair enough. I mean, I know the middle of Illinois is pretty much indistinguishable from the middle of Wisconsin, and so I've grown up with a lot of car racing fans myself. Not one, I'm not one, but I at least respect where you're coming from on that. Now, Aaron Mond, I don't know how to transition from car racing to you, but basically, we got a man who's back after. I'm guessing probably the most extended absence in the history of Sam's Army. You guys will remember him as a huge Chelsea fan, and since the last time you were on, Aaron, you have retired officially from soccer. But I can inform the people that the man can still play. We faced off, and I use that term loosely given my participation. But Sneaky Fox, and which team were you on? Conrad Beasley.
Conrad Beasley.
Yeah. So we faced off against you guys, and the man, you can still play. But here's a question for you: how much hatred did Team Conrad Beasley have for Sneaky Fox?
There was a lot of hatred up until we got to the bar later that night and had a few drinks. Subsided by then.
That's true. Shots will do that. They'll sort of temper the animosity. What are you up to these days, by the way?
Real estate development.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, living out in California. But happy to be back, man. It's been 3 years since it's been on the show. So Yeah, happy to get this going again and join you guys.
Hey, it's great
By
to
the way,
have you back.
can I put Sam? Can I put you on blast real quick? All right.
Ooh.
So let's say he took a 3-year absence from the show. How many invites did you actually get over the course of 3 years, Aaron? Because I'm always curious. Because Sam will say like, "Oh, it's been a while since so and so's been on the show," and like it makes it seem as if like you've constantly been turning down invites. But in reality, I probably think that he's maybe asked you twice in the past 3 years.
4 or 5 times, but yeah, you're not far off. You're not far off.
Listen, I don't know how to. It's a fine line that I walk. And listen, Tyler, you know as well as anybody on this that I feel a little, I don't want to ask too much of people, even though
You
I
feel like
ask.
an asshole for asking us to do a podcast at 9:30 o'clock Eastern time, and that's probably why you asked Aaron is because it's only 6:30 over there when it's really 9:30 over here.
That played into the calculus. That definitely played into the calculus. Listen, the man's golfing usually at Monday afternoon like this. Last 2 times I think I asked, he was like, "I'm golfing." Which, by the way, tell me you don't have kids yet, but without telling me you don't have kids yet, the man's
Yeah,
out
exactly.
golfing at 4 p.m. on a Monday afternoon. I haven't
Aaron,
done
let's
that.
tee it up, bro. Oh, fuck
I'm
this guy.
down, dude. I'm always down.
All right. Now that we're done putting me on blast, good to have you all here. And as you said, I thought you were actually going to transition that, Tyler, into how many wins has Chelsea had since the last time Aaron was on, which
There's
Also
plenty of
part of
time
the
for that.
calculus.
There's
yeah,
plenty.
we'll get there. We'll get there. All right, let's hit headlines first. Just a couple this week. So first off, we're going to go with the officially confirmed joint bid lodged by the U.S. and Mexico for the 2027 Women's World Cup. Now, obviously, this was not a secret that was held too close to the chest, because I feel like we've known about this for a while now. A couple sort of things that come to mind when thinking about this. Number one, it means the summers of U.S. soccer coming up are going to be incredible. I know that we got something going. Oh, it's the Confederations Cup or something, like, because like in 2024 we got the Copa America. In 2025, that's when I believe what's his name, FIFA guys talked about having the Confederations, expanded Confederation. What is it?
Well, Club World Cup's going to be
Club
here. The
World Cup.
expanded Club World Cup.
Club World Cup. That's what I'm talking about. In 2025, then 2026 would be the World Cup. 2027 would be the Women's World Cup, and then I believe 2028 would be the Olympics. So we could have just the next 5 summers of just fantastic soccer. I don't know if we're actually going to win the 2027 bid. I know we're up against Brazil, and then another one, a joint bid from Belgium, Germany, and Netherlands. I don't know what the odds makers are saying on who the favorite of those bids are. Dalton, any thoughts on any of that?
Little biased, but big fan. It would be incredible to have it all here in the US, which is, I think, maybe why FIFA might go, they don't need everything, unfortunately. But yeah, I mean, what better way to put ourselves back as world powers in women's soccer than to win it on home turf? So that's what I think should happen.
Yeah, and we might need it on home turf to
Yeah.
win it based on our recent performances. I don't know. That's really I just wanted to make sure everybody knew that that bid was in. We don't really have too much to talk about there. So unless I'm seeing something from Aaron or Tyler who are dying to get a comment in, we're going to head to the next headline, which is a little more interesting. Bundesliga. So we're talking Bundesliga 1 and 2, the top 2 flights of Germany. They voted to explore a deal with private equity, which would involve selling an 8% stake in future broadcast revenues in exchange for a upfront lump sum payment, which I believe they're talking about in the $1 billion range. So the whole point of this is to make the Bundesliga more competitive, which, reading between the lines, they basically want to compete on a global scale with the likes of the Premier League, who is the undisputed leader in that regard. It's a bit strange coming from the Bundesliga and given sort of this long-standing, I don't know, distaste essentially for combining sports with business. And they got this 50+1 rule. All the fans just absolutely hate teams like RB Leipzig, who they see as like having sold out to, the corporations and whatever else. So it's a little bit strange in that sense. I don't know, Tyler, is this something that interests you? Do you see Bundesliga as being well positioned to compete with EPL?
I think it's a nice idea. I think that what they're seeing is also a heavy investment from Serie A in the United States and trying to also sort of make a global play. The problem with all of this is that there's one underlying factor of, and it's unfortunate that it's as short-sighted as it is, but like the English Premier League is easier to digest because it's the English Premier League, especially here in the United States. I understand that they're going to want to say like, hey, like you can like Bayern Munich and you can like Dortmund and everything. And Dortmund has a really big following across the world as well. But I can understand what they're doing, an 8% chunk of future TV deals in exchange for a lump sum. I think for a league like Germany probably doesn't mean all that much. If it was for the Premier League, I think it would be a lot different. But like, I don't see the TV rights for the Bundesliga being as lucrative as something like the Premier League. But I like the idea. I just don't really ever think it's gonna get as big as the Premier League in my humble opinion. But
fair enough. Aaron, any thoughts?
Yeah, it's not gonna be the one stop fix, like they'll need like a Netflix show or whatever to like help, push it along. It's definitely a step in the right direction. I mean, it's one of those things you can't beat them, join them. You got to get business involved at this point. It seems like that's the way the world's going.
Yeah, and
proper title race this year, though. I mean, like you could potentially have 3 teams who are a part of it between Leverkusen, Dortmund, and Bayern, and even Stuttgart has been playing well this year. But yeah, like I agree with Aaron. I think it's so much more involved than just getting a huge lump sum of cash. And then where are you putting that cash? Like, is it strictly towards marketing? Or are you helping prop up other clubs? Like, if so, then you're gonna have to give some of that money to Bayern, and then the rich are just getting rich. Like, where's that money going?
And how are they splitting it? And I'm sure there's a lot of complications here. And this is just sort of the first step. The clubs voted, I think it was 36 teams. I think 24 voted for this, which was the bare minimum to give them the green light to do it. But what it means is that they can basically just give the board of directors or whatever the go ahead to begin negotiating with private equity. It's still strange to think of the Bundesliga getting in bed, sort of bedfellows with private equity, given the relationship that the fans have towards whatever big business, which is respectable. But I don't know. I wonder how it will go with German fans, with German Bundesliga fans, whether they're actually going to get on board with that or not. I have no idea. All right, that's a quick headlines. Usually we got a lot more, but I'm sure we'll get more next week. We're going to move on though to weekly what if. Shout out to Braden Gebhardt for this one. He sent it to me on Instagram. So he posed it as the reverse Ted Lasso. Basically, if you could pick one Premier League manager to be just be a savant, and you think he'd be just really good at coaching a quintessentially American sport, how we sent Ted Lasso over to England. He became like a sport of, or the coach of what, Richmond. I'd never even watched the show.
Richmond, Sam, come on.
There we go.
Come on, you got to watch it.
Not going to do it. So if we could pick one Premier League manager to be just a good coach of a quintessentially American sport, I'm going to just say football, NFL, NBA, Major League Baseball. Those 3. Take your pick. Dalton, give me a coach, an English coach. It doesn't have to be English coach, but Premier League coach who would be good as a coach of an American sport.
Could you imagine Roy Hodgson in baseball pants, by the way, if he was a baseball manager? That would just be incredible. No, I thought about this one. Thomas Frank was the one that kept coming to my mind, whether it's NFL or NBA. The dude knows how to draw up set plays, so he's got that going for him. He's incredibly smart, so I think he'd know what he's doing even when it's not around set plays. So like in NBA, for example, just like free flowing offense, I think he'd be able to figure it out. He's a very analytical mind. So I'm going Thomas Frank.
Okay, that's a good one. You got a lot of bullet points there, which are very worthy. That's a good pick. Aaron, who's the first one to come to mind?
So the first person that came to mind was Eddie Howe, and I don't really have a good reason why. But I think he'd be an incredible football coach. Uh, like I don't know. Sometimes when I see like Newcastle at home, like the energy that they're coming with, it's just fucking. I can swear
You
on
can
this, right?
totally swear. This is an adult program. You're okay.
That's right. Okay. Energy that they come with, I'm like, it would translate well to a football environment. And I just think he's a great coach. So I'll go
Yeah,
with Eddie Howe.
I think that point is fair. That he does seem to he seems to know his stuff. He knew it back in the Bournemouth days, and obviously he's been getting a lot out of granted a lot more monetary talent anyway from Newcastle. So that's a fair shout. Tyler, who you got?
I'm going to do the same thing that Dalton did, and I'm just not going to mention Jurgen because I just don't want to come off as a complete asshole. But we know that dude could coach badminton, and he would still do a good job.
I'm shocked that you're actually avoiding him, to be honest.
Liverpool, all about us. Yeah.
Yeah.
By the
That's
way,
a first.
Sam, there are a lot of people now who are like, especially when I was on the dating apps, like who would say like, oh, like I hope that Ted Lasso isn't your entire personality. Your whole personality is now the fact that you don't watch Ted Lasso, and it's fucking annoying. Watch the guy.
It's about 85% of my personality.
Watch the show. Sean Dyche.
Oh, that's who I had.
Sean Dyche would be a phenomenal he would be like the Rex Ryan of football coaches. I think he would be just an unreal defensive specialist coach, bring in 6 players on a blitz package on 3rd and long, galvanize the locker room like Dalton mentioned about like set pieces with Thomas Frank and everything like that. Also similar. Sean Dyche would be just, I could see him wearing like a visor on the sidelines for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and leading them.
I like that. Well, I mean, I clearly like that because that would have been my first draft pick if we were doing a draft in this. I think that you explained it perfectly. I think that he's got the motivation. He clearly he could still be a linebacker if he wanted to. So I'm sure that Sean Dyche could absolutely handle that. And to be fair, he has found ways with different teams to be not just a defensive guru. Everton, which we'll get to in a minute.
Everton team is flying. I mean, they've only scored like in the past 2 games, but let's crown them a mid-table team already in December.
Listen, I just want to get a shot in at Aaron because we got some Everton Chelsea talk to get to soon enough. All right, 2 votes for Sean Dyche. But if you guys have better suggestions, I'm all ears on Instagram or anywhere else on the socials. Okay, Premier League time. There were a lot of interesting games this week. A lot. I have 4 written down as just sort of like, okay, that's worth talking about. So, Aaron, the way we do this now is I throw out the question, unless there's one game that's just miles ahead of everything else. I throw out the question, what's the most interesting result from the weekend? And since you're the relatively speaking anyway here, the newbie, I'm gonna let you start. So from the weekend, what game stood out to you? You do not have to say Everton Chelsea, by the way. You are welcome to avoid it. What's the game that stood out most as being most interesting this weekend?
There he is.
Hey, he's back. He's back. There he is.
Oh shit! Was my connection unstable there?
It completely stopped. It completely stopped.
Jesus. All right. I'll ask it again, and Dolly, you're gonna have to work your little magic.
Yeah, I got you.
All right. So you do not have to pick the Chelsea Everton game, but basically, what game did you find most interesting from the weekend?
I gotta say that Arsenal Villa game. Just because I feel like it made everyone kind of believe. Everyone's kind of like, are they for real? is Unai Emery got this team really fired, and I think they're definitely in a tight spot, or in a good spot. I think to have that many home wins in a row says a lot, and I just like the way that they play. Everyone's confident. They're fine. I mean, it's hard to see them really falling too far from where they are right now. I don't really see a path to that, but I guess well, time will tell.
Yeah, I mean that's the big question, we had coming into this week was what are Aston Villa? And the fact they just beat Man City 1-0 and Arsenal 1-0, both at home. I mean, Tyler, are they title contenders?
No, come on.
Okay, all right. Had to ask.
I know that any team that beats a couple of top six, the big six teams to a Chelsea fan probably looks like a title contender, but it's not actually.
They
No,
do to
I mean,
Tottenham fan too, to be honest.
No, listen. I hope that I eat my. I'm watching this Giants, but this is just madness. Anyway, it looks like a Chelsea Manchester United game. There, the thing is that I think that I would love to see another team added to this title race because I think it's going to be a 3-horse race to begin with Arsenal, City, and Liverpool, and I would love to throw a fourth in there, and just have this be absolutely bonkers with Liverpool finishing on top. But I think that an injury or two puts them behind the 8 ball like it does with most teams. And Boxing Day congestion is typically where the boys are separated from the men. If they're still 3 to 5 points off of first place by January 14th, then we can talk. But still not convinced.
Still too early. Okay. All right. I mean, they are ahead of City right now on points. They're on 35. City's on 33. And of course, you got Liverpool on 37 and Arsenal on 36. Okay. Well, your answer is wait till after the sort of, New Year's, Christmas congestion. Yeah. Okay. Dalton, where do you stand on what Aston Villa are this season, other than impressive?
Top 4, I think, should be firmly in their plans. I don't think they're title contenders. I don't think they're good enough away from home. Aaron said, rightfully so, how good they are at Villa Park. That place gets rocking, and they're very hard to beat there right now. But away from home, they got whooped by Newcastle, got whooped by Liverpool. I think they've had another bad loss on the road. So I think the consistency away from home is not there, which it's harder to win away, we all know. But of course, I think that's missing. But you can make top 4 kicking an ass at home all year. So if they can keep doing that, then I think they're going to be in the Champions League next year.
I think they lost to Forest on the road, which I don't know if we can count that as a really bad loss. I think it was 2-0. But yeah, I mean, they really look like a team that will probably be a problem for Spurs for top 4. If we're gonna get in the top 4, it does look like Aston Villa is a team that has to fall out of there. I mean, you would say Newcastle as well, although they've obviously struggled mightily lately, which we'll talk about in just a minute. And I think that's, their squad is not as deep. And then talking about Newcastle, but you could just be talking about Aston Villa too. These teams are not as deep as a team like Liverpool, as a team like City. So that's worth keeping in mind. Okay, Aston. Well, actually, we talked about the game and sort of the importance of it, but the finish of that Aston Villa Arsenal game, what the hell was going on there? I mean, Dalton, what were your thoughts on sort of the goal line scrum,
the handball
and the handball and everything else?
There's no. Where are the Gooners this week?
It's interesting, right?
Just curious. Yeah.
Interesting. Very interesting. 1-0 loss and they don't show up this week.
It's a handball. That's the clearest handball rule there is. If it hits the attacker's arm, no matter what, and then you score a goal, it's a handball. It doesn't matter in that natural position, all those different things. It's as black and white of a handball rule as we have. And Kai Havertz hit it with his arm. It went in the net. It's a handball. I know the Arsenal fans won't like it, but they weren't good enough anyway. to win that game. Villa controlled the game, even though they had less shots. They controlled the game and what Arsenal was doing. So I think it's a handball. I know Mikel Arteta doesn't want to take the blame and say that they didn't play well enough, just like Patrick Mahomes doesn't want to say Kadarius Toney's an idiot for lining up 5 yards offsides. So I think it was the right call. I know Arsenal fans don't like it, but it's the right call, in my opinion.
Listen, the Tweedles aren't here to defend themselves, which I'm going to take as an admission of guilt that they admit that, yes, that is a handball and you have to call it. And I will say, like, there are so many different rules and interpretations of like the handball rule. That one right there is like, we don't even really have to argue about that. That's just a handball to me. Aaron, any disagreement?
No, I agree. Handball.
There it is. It's settled. Tyler's on board as well. Okay, Tyler, from the weekend, what game stood out to you?
I'm gonna go to Fulham West Ham. I mean, Fulham for a second game put up a 5 spot. Didn't see that coming.
Yeah.
I thought I was drunk, which I wasn't, which I wish I was when I saw the score. And then the United score. Like, I said this on Sirius on Friday. We were previewing the games, and I was like, man, like, they're coming off of this bullshit game against Chelsea, and there's perpetual false sense of security. Like, everybody talks about why they have so many points, even though, like, on the field, off the field, it's a fucking disaster. And it is a fucking disaster. Lest us not forget that this team is in shambles, and Bournemouth proved it. That's embarrassing. Fucking
3-0.
embarrassing. At home.
Yeah.
Ten Hag should have been gone 48 hours ago. I'm done.
No, one more week.
I'm
Please.
done. I'm done watching it. I've said this. How many times have I said this on the podcast? Manchester United being good is good for the Premier League. That's why Harry fucking Maguire and Ten Hag won Player of the Month and Coach of the Month. You're not going to tell me that there was a better player and Coach of the Month in the Premier League than Harry Maguire and Eric Ten Hag in November.
That was crazy.
Insane. Anyway, this is all to say that, like, if I'm Sir Jim Ratcliffe and I'm starting to take ownership of this club, like, I'm cleaning house as soon as fucking possible. This is only going to get worse.
That team will take 5 at some point this week. One of the 2 games, they'll take 5.
Yeah, who they playing? They playing Bayern.
Bayern and
tomorrow.
then Liverpool.
Oh, yeah, that is a tough week.
I did want to say,
I would love to put them out of their misery, like another 7-0, something along those lines. Can I get more Jamie Carragher, Gary Neville content from the Sky Sports box?
If you do something like that, it would be hard to keep Ten Hag in his job if you guys lay it.
But they're gonna be. But they would say, like, well, it's Liverpool. We expect to get beat that bad. Like, it's just the Bournemouth one that stings a little bit. I know that it's a huge rival, and I know that that's not actually the case. But, like,
I don't know that I agree with you on them getting rid of Ten Hag. I just don't know if there's anything to be gained from them. They churn through managers left and right. They've got bigger problems than the manager.
Unai Emery. Look at what Emery's done at Aston Villa. And it's not near as, like, discombobulated in a terrible situation there. But he's came in. Ainge has gone into Tottenham and turned them around and has you guys play in a fun style and a distinctive style where you're winning games and beating good teams and things like that. And Ten Hag's been there a year and a half and hasn't done it. Can't do it.
Fair, but I think that the United's situation, they are more fucked up from top to bottom than Tottenham and Aston Villa were. I think that the pieces were in place to at least be pretty decent for what your expectations are for Aston Villa and Tottenham, whereas United's expectations are to be neck and neck with Man City, and I'll throw Liverpool a bone there. United's expectations are to be in the title contention every single year. They obviously haven't been forever. And it speaks to the amount of just sort of backwardness that is clear. Listen to all these Manchester United former players and everything. They're just like, listen, they need to clean house. The commercial side is like running operations. Obviously, recruitment has been just absolutely garbage for years. And I thought Ten Hag has done an okay job of cleaning up a bunch of the mess that he was handed when he took over. I still think that
He's
they
also
got bigger
picking
problems.
players, right? He's also picking players right now, which is a problem. Like, because if you're going to get rid of him, then you just have that much more work to do.
Right, you got to start over all again, and I think he's shown at Ajax that he can coach. Okay, other games that we got to bring up quickly. Everton, Chelsea. First of all, Everton are like ever since the Premier League or whoever handed them the 10-point deduction, they've been good. Like we were sort of like wondering, okay, is this going to be them getting sent down to relegation? But maybe it's not, because it's kind of one of those years where the relegation teams are so bad that Everton, by the end of the season they'll probably crawl up the table a little bit. Nope, they just bounced directly up the table. I think in the last month or two they've got like one loss and a whole bunch of wins. So right now, Everton, they're already out of the relegation zone. They're on 13 points, which, keep in mind, that should be 23 points, which would have put them in 10th. They could be in 10th right now. I don't know what's going on with Everton, but it's good things, and I think you got to give Sean Dyche a lot of credit there. Then on the other hand, Aaron, you got Chelsea. So what did you think of that game, and what were the takeaways for you for the two teams?
I just feel, whenever I feel like I see a glimmer of hope, it just gets absolutely extinguished so quickly. It's hard to watch just because there's so much talent on this team. It's just, I feel like the balance of like guys that know how to win and guys that are just like young trying to figure themselves out is just off. So, you got a couple guys that have won, Thiago Silva, Reece James, Raheem, and then after that it falls off pretty quickly. So it's a very naive team, and unfortunately the Prem, can figure that out pretty quickly and hammer you. So I think that's what's going on right now. But I don't know.
Are you Pochettino out? Or are you?
Yeah, I was just gonna say, like, it's hard to. I think we need a number 9 before we start, getting coaches fired and calling for Poch out, because we don't have a pure goal scorer right now, it's hard to like motivate a team, obviously, if you don't have anyone who's going to.
Is this 2019 or is it 2023, or does it all not really matter?
It's just all one continuum. I mean,
right.
look at the results that Chelsea have had recently. So you beat Tottenham 4-1. That game was just all sorts of strange for many reasons.
Yeah.
The red card, obviously, kind of asterisk on that. You follow that up with a 4-4 draw with Man City. Then you get spanked by Newcastle 4-1. Also red card in that one. You beat Brighton, in which you were playing with 10 men for a lot of that. Then you get beat by United, and then you get spanked by Everton. Like, I can totally see where every time you get just a little glimmer of hope, it's just like they stomp right on your hopes and dreams. Now, were you impressed by Everton though?
Yeah, I think, and a little bit of me is biased on this one. It's like, if it feels like the world's against you, it's easy to like rile up the team around that, and everyone's together. And I think, I don't know if it will last. It is impressive. I think they should be playing the way that they're playing, especially with their squad. They have like a really good squad, that midfield is really strong. Yeah, all the past performances that they've had, like, this is how they should be playing, in my opinion. Sean Dyche has a pretty good squad in front of him. So, yeah, I will see if it lasts. I think maybe around Christmas time, maybe it starts to subside a little bit. We'll see.
All right. What are the other games I had written down? There was at least one more.
The mentality monsters are back, right, Tyler?
Did we ever leave?
Yeah,
never left. Well, last year, sabbatical last year. But
you can't have mentality monsters if there are no monsters to have a mentality. I mean, too many injuries last year.
Right. And a midfield that couldn't run. So
back, motherfuckers.
Watching that
Honestly,
game, I never doubted you were going to lose. Like I never doubted you were going to win. I mean, I just was sort of like, this is annoying, but I know that they're going to win. And fair enough, you did.
sounds eerily similar to a team that is on its way to win a Premier League title.
Oh, I'm not co-signing that quite yet.
No, but when you just know that they're going to win games, right? Like when City wins the title, you just know they're going to win games, even if they go down 2-0. You just know they're going to find a way.
Well, like this week, they went down to Luton Town, and like I was never sort of thinking, oh, you know what, City might lose this game. Like it was just like, well, it's only a matter of time. I they only won, I think, 2-1, so it's not like they, ran away with it. But that was, kind of the same thing. The Palace is a different.
If they lose that game, Pep out.
No, I mean,
I'd be hired
okay
in 20 minutes.
I'd be okay with it.
Somewhere else.
Other games, Spurs 4-1 over Newcastle. I did not see that coming. I did not think that this team, playing without Madison, had a 4-goal explosion in them. It was cool to watch, and Richarlison getting back in some type of form is always cool to see. Not that we've seen a lot of it, but I took away from that what we were talking about Newcastle and their risks and the concerns we had about them, specifically me and Mikey early in the season. It feels like they're coming to fruition. It feels like the team just isn't deep enough to handle the number of competitions that they're in. And obviously the injuries are taking a real toll on them. So I said it coming into the game that it feels like both of the teams were getting each other at kind of a fortuitous time. It turns out I think we got Newcastle at a very fortuitous time, and I don't think we're 4-1 better than them. Whether we have a bunch of guys injured or suspended or not. But we took our chances, and you can score 4 goals when you got enough, a Premier League type talent. I didn't see it coming. I'm happy about it. I don't think it says something, long term really about Spurs, other than we're just going to try and hold on for another month or two until we get like our squad back and Van de Ven and Madison and that sort of thing. But maybe if there's anything, maybe it's Newcastle might be in sort of bigger trouble than we think, which is possible because they've also got a big Champions League game coming up this week, and so they could, well, the good thing is they could not be facing that huge congestion with fixtures if they get bounced from Europe, and then that's the good news. Not much of a silver lining, but it's something. Dalton, any thoughts on that or any other games I haven't brought up yet?
Yeah, I mean, Newcastle, Tottenham, that one, I think Newcastle, the injuries are killing them. Not only just like injuries kill every team when they stack up, but Newcastle kill teams when they just out intensity them. And like Aaron said, like when they're at home, they are all over teams. They're first to everything. They win every 50-50. That's how they win. They just jump all over teams. But then when you're injured and you're starting every 3 days, it's pretty hard to keep that intensity up, especially if like you're Joel Linton and all you do is run through players and actually don't bring anything productive to the field. But no, I mean, yeah, I agreed with you. No, I agreed with you and Mikey that at the beginning that the congestion was going to kill Newcastle, and we're seeing it. And I'll happily, long may it continue.
Yeah, it won't continue for too long. I'm sure that they're going to probably, stack some players up in January and then stack some more up next summer, and they're going to be a problem. But yeah, they've got hit by the injury bug and hit hard. I was talking to basically my only Newcastle friend, who was actually, that's not true. I know a couple more. Keegan Rosenberry, who's on the program, is a Newcastle fan. But Mike, he was basically saying that he was giving Ange credit for the tactical decision to match up Son with Trippier, and he actually makes a good point. You sort of think of Trippier as being like one of the best players and defenders, and man, Son he just took him to the cleaners. He just owned him that whole game. And
What
I guess Ian saw it.
what a terrible week for Trippier, by the way. Everton game, he just gives Everton the ball to score, and then this game just gets torn apart by Son. That's a tough week. That's a really tough week.
That's not one to write
Yeah.
home about.
I feel like people were just calling him like England's best right back too, like a week before, and then all of a sudden he just
It's funny how that works.
crumbled a little bit.
It's funny how that works. Every time they talk about Reece James the same way he gets hurt, and then they talk,
There's one consistency here, isn't there, of who they're being compared to?
Oh, there it is. There it is.
Talking about that midfielder at Liverpool.
Yeah, talking about the best right back in the world, Aaron. Best one in the world.
The right back.
Oh gosh.
Fuck it out.
Give him
With the nicest cheeks that this Premier League has ever seen.
That's true.
He had to know that his pants were at his ass. I mean, what an amazing move by him that way. If anybody doesn't know, I had it on my Instagram. I'm sure you can just find it on Twitter. Like he took a corner kick, and he pulled his pants down, like just sort of maybe they were riding up a little high. He pulled them down and then pulled his shirt up. So you can basically see half his ass when he's taking the corner kick. It was incredible.
And he got the assist.
And he got the assist on it as well.
But Liverpool's website, when they posted the highlights for that corner, they like Marvel CGI'd the shorts up so you couldn't see.
Did they really?
They did.
That's
it's
amazing.
Yeah, they did everything they could to make sure Trent's ass was not on the Liverpool website.
Could they just like nixed or taken it from a different angle? Like you don't have to...
like just have it. I don't know. They could have, but I respect the hustle.
Yes, I guess. All right. All right, move on to the way we're doing power rankings, we're doing it quicker now. So I'm going to throw somebody under the bus and give you, the honor of doing your top four, and then the rest of us will either agree or more likely, shit on you for what you get wrong. Dalton, I'm going with you. You got the conch shell here. So give us your top four right now if they played on a neutral field.
Liverpool, Villa, Arsenal, City.
Wow. Now it's tough to argue some of that, even though I want to, just because, Villa just beat Arsenal and City in the same week. Now give it to me again. Liverpool, Villa,
Arsenal, City.
Do City have a real problem right now?
Injuries?
No, I'm just saying in general. Like, have they lost their mojo? Like, I'm thinking about that Austin
Something's
Powers.
there.
The Austin Powers movie where, like, literally somebody goes back in time and takes the mojo right out of his wiener. I forget whether it was the first or second one, but, like, feels like somebody stuck a needle in Pep's wiener and took his mojo away.
Well, Aaron's right. The injuries obviously are an issue when you're missing guys like.
Fuck that. If
true. No. That goes for everybody.
They should get a 60-point deduction for the amount of financial fair play rules that they've broken. So they should put those financially fair play bullshit on the field when they have all these injuries.
That's fair. I mean, listen, everybody's dealing with injuries. Obviously, it's not specific to City, but just in terms of have they lost their mojo? If you got guys like Rodri and De Bruyne, who you're used to counting on, and they're all of a sudden not there. I mean, I'm just pointing out that obviously will have an impact on any team, even the team as deep and talented as City, which if there's a team in the league there's a team in the world probably that shouldn't really be given too much flexibility to whine about injuries, it's City, because they have so much talent.
But what Villa did to them is unprecedented in the Pep era.
So I think it's a fair question. You're asking a fair question. Is this City? Is this really the City that we sort of think?
If the answer to that question is no, they don't have a problem, this is a blip on the radar, then I disagree with what Dalton said. I can't have City in fourth right now because I think that on a neutral field, City probably beats all of those teams more times than they lose to them.
See, that's where I come in as well. And I'm not convinced that the City has a real problem. But you're right. It does feel different. And that Aston Villa game did feel different.
If it's because of the injuries, then fine. But like there's something going on.
Mhm.
I think if you
My
ask
power
the City,
rankings are impenetrable.
I think if you ask someone on City, they'd say they don't have a problem, which makes me think they don't have a problem. Like I don't think they like I think they still
But
have like
Is Foden going to come out in the locker room afterwards and say, "Lads, like he's going to go to Jeff Struders and he's going to be like, we got a problem."
Everything's fucked.
they've just won so much. Like like if it was a championship game tomorrow on a neutral field, do you think they're losing to Aston Villa? You know, it's a
That's
little bit
where
of
I don't know.
there's room for them to come back, I think, and I don't think they're worried about the one-off game. It is a little bit of a bad stretch for sure, admittedly, but
Yeah, but and there's been a lot of those, like just more in a relative sense. They lost to Arsenal in a game that like
yeah.
these are games where City in the past will just find a way to win. And now Erling Haaland is out for, I don't know if that's like an extended injury. I don't know what the situation is with that, but I know he wasn't on out there for my fantasy team this weekend.
Can I say something controversial?
Uh-oh.
Oh, please.
I think the Holland injury might be good for City long term. I think they can get back to the way they've played, and Julian Alvarez fits that system more than Erling Haaland. Haaland scores a lot of goals. He's also missed a lot of nets this year, but is not getting the comps that a certain someone else would. I think Julian Alvarez allows them to play the way that Pep really wants to play, and I think we're going to see that in the coming weeks.
Interesting. I mean, it's a hot take, but it's one that at least I can understand the rationale for. Holland seems like the kind of guy that can step in any team and make them better. So then, just by definition, him stepping out of the team makes them worse. But I can understand where you're coming from on that. Tyler, any hot take to fight the hot take with?
I disagree.
I saw your face when I said it. You were like, "What is this
Yeah,
guy?"
no. I understand where you're going with it. He's the greatest goal scorer that this world has ever seen. It's just
He has missed a lot of sitters this year. I've noticed, and I'm not gonna.
so is Nunez, but you don't see anybody blaming him for anything.
Fair, but Nunez misses them in more extravagant and more hilarious ways, which
It's beautiful when Darwin does it.
it is. It's spectacular and remarkable. Nunez is a different breed. Plus I was going to say plus his hair, but they both have sorts of very extravagant locks that make it all the more spectacular when they miss. I don't know. Aaron, what do you think about City and either minus Haaland or just City not being City anymore?
I get definitely see the point. I mean, I just more hung up on greatest goal scorer ever to walk the face of the earth. Is that what I just heard?
Tyler went harder take than I did.
Was that a little? Yeah, you did fight a hot take with a hot take. Was that? Do you think that's a? You don't even think it's a hot take?
Is that a hot take? I don't understand. Why am
Messi's still a better goal scorer.
Yeah, I mean, come on.
Were you saying on the planet Earth right now? I guess I didn't really hear exactly what you said. Like the greatest scorer alive right now, or playing?
Yeah, in the world, planet, universe at the moment. Yeah.
I thought you said ever.
At the moment.
Yeah, you did. I thought I could have swore you said ever. I think you said ever. I'm gonna have to play the tape. Roll it back.
Even if I did say ever.
Don't say it.
No. I understand. Obviously Messi is the greatest to put the ball in the back of the net, but in terms of, he's not from like.
What? Isn't that scoring?
Of course, it's scoring. Who was it? Who was it that was talking about it? It was like talking about how they would do finishing after practice and like he'd be 99 for 100 at Barcelona. And Suarez would be like 75 or 80 or something like that. And he's just like, Messi's just not cut from the same cloth. So like Erling Haaland is the greatest goal scorer ever of like the human breed. And then that's what I
there you go. It's a good qualifier. All right. Well, we'll see. City, something does feel just strangely off with them. They just don't seem as scary. You know, they're drawing with Chelsea. They're sort of almost losing, or at least sort of looking like they're human against Luton Town. You know, I don't know. It just doesn't feel like the big bad scary city of years past. All right, we're not even going to do bottom three because I think it's so obvious that Luton Town, Burnley, and Sheffield are, you know, are going down essentially, unless Burnley figures something out quickly. That we're just going to skip right over that and head to rest of world because we get MLS Cup. And first and foremost, congrats to Columbus. Hell of a run, hell of a season, hell of a team. Fun to watch. They played a great game. Now, before we actually get to the game itself, though, it felt like a really weird week in terms of like MLS related headlines. We had this whole ticket kerfuffle where, you know, I don't know what happened, but it sounded like some bots essentially got the password and bought up like essentially all the tickets that were supposed to go to, you know, actual fans. And that situation, it sounds like MLS did their best to kind of rectify the situation and, you know, cancel the tickets and did a whole nother sale. But that situation obviously is no bueno. And then sort of more interestingly was this situation with the LAFC supporter group, who, what is it, 3252? They lit off a whole bunch of flares during the semifinal the week before. And, you know, the vibes, the atmosphere, the ambiance, I think most fans would say was better for it and sort of had that feel of like a, you know, a big European game, which is always what we sort of compare ourselves to, for rightly or wrongly and better and worse. But the, you know, the supporter group itself was fined a fair amount of money, I think 100,000 if I'm not mistaken, and they're taking away certain privileges for all of next year. And I don't know if they really came down hard on them, they being MLS. I don't know if MLS came down really hard on them or if it was more sort of for, you know, the headlines to seem like they were coming down hard on them. But at the end of the day, if you look at MLS's marketing materials, they always have, you know, these sort of clearly, you know, smoke and stuff like that in the background, kind of making it seem, you know, giving it the ambiance that the 3252, that the supporters group essentially brought to the game. So, Tyler, am I putting you in a tough spot if I ask you sort of what your thoughts on the situation is?
Yeah, you are.
Okay, I'll do it anyway.
I see both sides of it. Number one, you're not supposed to bring players into the game for obvious reasons, right? Don't fucking light shit on fire. However, I was a broadcaster for the league this year, and every single open that I saw on my monitor started off with a flare coming out from a supporter section.
Yeah. Yep.
So I get why the supporters group is furious. I understand why the league needed to do something about it, because I know that this is not the first time in the past however many years where there's been a flare in the supporter section. However, it looks sick. And it looked great on the opening graphics for the game. So like, now I'm not saying that the powers that be were like, take that shot of the flare and put it in and let's run this before every single broadcast this year. Not saying that. I get it.
Yeah.
I get it on both sides.
It's tough. And I agree that like this is one of those situations where I can understand both sides as well. And the problem is that the US we're just different than Europe in many different ways. We're a very, you know, litigious society, and MLS is probably essentially covering their own ass. You know, somebody gets, you know, their hair singed or, you know, lit on fire, their clothes anyway. You know, if somebody got hurt in a situation like that, the club and the league would probably be out a fair amount of money. And so if they're just, the US is not a place where we're going to allow that stuff, really, right? I just don't think it's ever going to, it's going to come up, it's not going to work out like that. So we have to find different ways to, sort of bring the in-game atmosphere and get those vibes and everything. I'm sure there's ways to do it. We just sort of have to, I don't know, be creative and thoughtful in the way we do it. Aaron, any thoughts?
No, I mean, yeah, those insurance premiums got to stay down, right?
Exactly. It's really it. I really think that's what it's. The U.S. is different. We're different. We got lawyers behind every goddamn door and around every corner, and they're just waiting for a chance to sue. I don't mean this as like a shot at lawyers. It's just the way our society is, and so that MLS is dealing with that. And then the supporters group 3252 wants to make the situation make it awesome. And they did. And then you got other supporter groups who are coming down on MLS ahead of time before MLS came out with a punishment saying, you have to come down on these guys because you won't allow us to do the same thing. And so there's a whole, it's a whole situation and to do, when in reality, it's like, yeah, everybody would probably be fine with a couple flares. Maybe they can have like a safety instructor appointed,
Sam.
What?
Sam.
It's not going to work. It's not going to work. Okay.
We should make Tyler light one off from the booth.
That would be fun.
Ratings.
Yeah.
I've never set off a flare before, and I can't promise that I wouldn't throw it at somebody, but I'd like to set off a flare.
I mean, I know that obviously I'm speaking out of my ass, but why couldn't you have like an official, flare lighter, who's gone through all the safety instruction and had like all.
You know what? This is starting to sound very Second Amendment-ish.
I know.
No, this is like the hammering of the spike in Atlanta. LA gets a flare lighter.
One. Just one.
Yeah.
Your official flare lighter. It brings a little ambiance, brings a little smoke. Well, now that Tyler actually got up from the bed is perfect time, because I was actually just about to ask him what his there he's back.
I'm back. I had to get my bag of candy. I'm feeding right
now. Now I know you listen, you're always a good I'm sure Dalton and Aaron could probably do it a good job as well. I would stink at it. But give us your thoughts on the game itself and sort of, put it in context with the season that Columbus had.
I think that this was an incredible season for a number of different reasons. Number one, for the organization to flip the script from the Caleb Porter era, say goodbye to a coach who was 2 years removed from winning an MLS Cup, bring in Wilfried Nancy, who had already established that he was a good coach at Montreal and clearly had ideas. Give him the tools to be able to cook, working in conjunction with Tim Bezbatchenko, who has proven to be one of the best executives in Major League Soccer over the past 10 to 12 years, and never deviate from what he wanted to do this year. And this goes all the way back to the beginning of the season, when they weren't even in a playoff spot, losing games left and right. I think they had lost 3 or 4 on the bounce, and playing out of the back, getting caught, giving the ball away, Patrick Schulte pissing the ball away, rolling with a keeper who was a stud in MLS Next Pro, losing Lucas Zelarayan, who a lot of people think it was good for Columbus to do that, and it probably was, because you bring in Diego Rossi and somebody actually starts to defend. But I'm telling you, I think Wilfried Nancy is probably the second hottest commodity in MLS right now, behind Thiago Almada. He is not long for this league. The dude can fucking coach. And yeah, I was at the game, and I just thought that like LAFC couldn't touch them, could not get anywhere near them. Aiden Morris and Darlington Nagbe, probably the most balanced midfield MLS has seen in a long, long time. Long time. So yeah, incredible. The performance was exactly what you expected. They just strangled LAFC and just wouldn't let them play out, even if they wanted to. And Columbus just looked like a superior outfit comparatively to the rest of Major League Soccer for the last 5 or 6 weeks of the season. Like, clearly the best team in the league, and it wasn't even close.
I might be putting you on the spot here, but are they sort of, what's their contract and situation? Are they basically like back next season, or are they facing like some contract situations?
No, Darlington re-upped. Aiden, I have a feeling Aiden Morris might be going to Europe. He, like, I don't know if you saw, but there was a video of him like going back out onto the field and sort of soaking it in. He's only 22.
Yeah.
I think he's still on contract, but you might have to structure his deal a little bit differently to then keep him. You might have to cut some other people, but like, I don't know about the likes of like Mohamed Farsi and Yaya Boa, the Steven Moreira's of the world. I think he's on his second or third year, and a lot of these guys have 2-and-1s. But yeah, I think that they'll return a lot. It's just a matter of like those complementary pieces that made them so good this year, if they'll be able to bring those back.
And if they lose Nancy, and if they lose Aiden Morris, obviously those are some big things. Quick shout out though to Christian Ramirez and Julian Gressel, guys, my Sam fam guys who, you know, played in, you know, key roles for this team coming down the stretch. And the fact that they both ended up on this team together after them both having some very sort of interesting, unique paths to it, with, you know, fits and starts and everything. It's, you know, credit to them and credit to what happens when you know, you got talent, you got some balls, and you got dedication. So shout out to them. Anything else, Dalton or Aaron, from MLS Cup? You good to go?
I was just gonna say, great game. My future I placed live on this podcast right before they played Orlando paid off.
That's
So
right.
shout out Columbus, big fan. No,
Well
I love seeing Columbus do well. They're a fun club. They usually play a good style. They're run very well. I like seeing them do well.
And it is interesting, you know, they could be gone, right? There could be no Columbus Crew right now, but for various people and the fan base itself came together and made sure that they stuck around. It is awesome. Quick thing on LAFC. So I read that they were in 3 finals this year and lost all three of them. Is this, I mean, would you call that a successful season for LAFC? Yeah,
I'd say no.
Yeses.
I'm going.
I'm getting a no from Dalton. Okay.
No. I think their standard, even though they just joined the league not long ago, is to win trophies. And whenever you're in 3 finals, you got to win at least one. So
fair. I'm just like reflecting on, you know, if Chicago Fire were in one goddamn final, it'd be,
or even the playoffs.
right? Just a meaningful game. God damn it. Next season. I really feel it. All right. That's the end of the season. Shout out to Columbus. Shout out to everybody else. We'll be back before you know it. Everybody's gonna be back in about what, like 2 months, back out there playing. So you're on mute, Candy Boy. Candy Boy's still on mute.
Yeah, he is.
There he is.
Aaron, preseason, doesn't it start for CONCACAF Champions Cup like literally in 5 weeks, 4 weeks?
January, yeah, like end of January.
Jesus.
Brutal.
MLS is wild.
Terrible.
MLS is wild. All right, quickly, we'll round out rest of world, or round the world, I think is what I've been calling it. Champions League this week, we got the final group stage game, actually ever. Now that I think about it, given that we're changing the format next season. There are some important games. I know Group F really stands out. Newcastle, PSG, and Dortmund and Milan, I believe, all have a chance to go through when they play. Let's see, who are they playing? This would be on Wednesday. Dortmund plays PSG and Newcastle plays Milan. So
Dortmund's already through, by the way.
Okay, Dortmund's through, but the other 3 have a chance to grab that second spot. That was the group that really stood out to me. I know that, you know, Liverpool and Arsenal are just, you know, sitting pretty at this point. I know the Manchester United is not. Neither is Newcastle. We already talked about Newcastle. United, as we've talked about, they got to play Bayern. And I said last week that United, they might get a good time to face Bayern because, Bayern's already free and clear into the knockouts. But they come off of just an embarrassing, what was it, 5-1? I think they lost to Frankfurt over the weekend. And anytime Bayern loses a game like that, that is not a time that you want to play Bayern. So that game where I thought United might be getting them at the right time turned into no, that's not the time to catch them. So we'll see how United does. Any other games that stand out to you guys from Champions League?
Newcastle Milan for me. That group, everyone's had an eye on it for however long, but it doesn't really matter what happens in that game if PSG beats Dortmund because neither of them will advance. But it's going to be a fun one to watch regardless. Both of them need to win, so they're both going to be going for it.
The other one, Group H, I know is tight enough that I think 3 teams can still go through. No, not 3 teams. Barcelona will go through, but Porto and Shakhtar are playing and still can actually jump Barcelona. If Barcelona loses to Antwerp, the winner of the Porto-Shakhtar game, especially if it is Porto, if they win by 2 or more goals, I believe they would jump Barcelona into first in that group. So there's still some stuff to play for out there. Copenhagen, Galatasaray, both on 5 goals in that group with Manchester United. So that, everything's still to play for there. Copenhagen and Galatasaray are obviously playing each other, and Man United has Bayern. So tough draw on that one. Okay, let's move on to stoppage time. Put a bow on this episode. So what we typically do is we start with Ivan Toney's best bets, where I typically give myself, a reach around on how well I've been doing with the overtrain. I'm not going to give myself a reach around this week. The overtrain, we hit some bumps. We hit some bumps last week. I don't even know if I got any of them right. Perth and Melbourne City, maybe on Friday. I can't even remember.
What is wrong with you?
I know. I'm really digging deep for these.
No. Really? Like what? Like, do you watch the game?
I do. I have no. Sometimes I do. If it's a game like that, which typically they kick off at like 2 a.m. When I go to, this is going to be a strange story, but when I go to bed, I use earbuds to listen to books on tape, or books on audiobooks.
Not that weird.
Right, that's not that weird. But then what happens is I set the sleep timer to go off in 30 or 45 minutes. And then in the middle of the night, I've got all my apps set. So the only app that makes a noise when I'm in sleep mode is FOTMob. And it dings if the game that I have, that I've got overs riding on, it dings if there's a goal. So it wakes me up at 2:15 in the morning with just a little ding, and I get like a momentary, moment of bliss where it's like, there's a goal, okay, and I'll go right back to sleep. I'll go right back to sleep.
Then you turn over and go, babe, we're rich.
Oh, no, I don't mention the overtrain to the Mrs. Army. She doesn't need it. We got to have some, some boundaries, some secrets there. So getting back to the overtrain, I did get one right. Perth and Melbourne City on Friday might have been the only game I got right, unless I got the Belgian Cup game. Nope, I didn't. So 1 for 4. Not a good week. Not a good week at all. I got to rethink my strategy here. I got to come back to the table even bigger, better, stronger. So normally I start with the overtrain. This time I'm going to let you guys go as I, get my mojo together and rethink things with the overtrain. So Dalton or Aaron, anybody got one that you want to give to the people?
I've done no research on this. I don't know what any of the lines are, but I would take Bayern to win tomorrow. Harry Kane to score anytime. That's got to be pretty high on something that would
-500.
Yeah, you're probably right.
When you throw the added Harry Kane in there, which actually makes too much sense going against Manchester United. Yeah, in fact, the fact that you even pointed that out, he's 100% going to score in that goal in that game as long as they play him. I guess they could sit him. I guess that's one thing to keep in mind. Okay, I like that call though. Dalton, what do you got for us?
I'm going weekend games. I love that shout. Love that bet. I'm gonna go Bayern Stuttgart over on Sunday. Big fan of that one. Stuttgart has been putting up goals lately, which is really weird. Not used to it whatsoever. And then had a Premier League one lined up here. I'm gonna go Liverpool to win and keep a clean sheet against Man United. So we didn't talk much about that game, by the way, but I think it's going to be tight. I think it's going to be a tight one. I think a lot of people are hoping it's like a 4-5-0. I think it's going to be a tight one.
I'm glad you brought that up. I forgot to do the weekend preview. So that was the one game that I for sure wanted to talk about. I know there's some other games that are interesting. Specifically, Arsenal and Brighton is always. I think they play on Saturday, or is it? Yeah, no, it's Sunday. Arsenal hosting Brighton will be a good one, and it'll be an interesting one. But it's the Liverpool Manchester United game on Sunday. That's the one that I'm most interested in because Liverpool could, as I sort of said at the beginning, like they could actually kill Manchester United. If you guys hang a number on them, I don't think that firing Ten Hag is the right way to go. But I don't know how they would not fire him if you guys do something dirty to United.
I just don't see it being another last year. I think they're going to go into that game and be like, that can't happen again. Although smart move by Bruno Fernandes to get a yellow card accumulation suspension before the game. I do appreciate that.
Oh no, what are they going to do without their captain?
It's okay, they have Harry.
Oh, you guys. There's the Liverpool hate. Okay. So by the way, let's at least get the two of you on the record.
What segment are we on? What's going on here?
I'm just doing a quick little recap on the weekend preview, which I actually forgot to do. So do you think that Liverpool,
just so everybody knows, it's 11 o'clock on a motherfucking Monday. Now that's
for you,
for me, because I don't actually have to do anything tomorrow other than go to the gym and go to therapy. But like for the rest of the people that are on here and who have kids, I feel bad. And Sam's the one running this train, and he has the kids and the job that he actually has to go to. So
anyway. It doesn't make any sense. It's never made sense. I'll be honest with you there. All right. 2 questions, Tyler. How many goals are Liverpool going to win by on Sunday? 9. Okay. And and best bet.
All right. I've cooked it up already. Okay. Over in the PSV Arsenal game, Arsenal to win, Galatasaray to win for a cool plus 668. Tyler Terrens' terrible parlay is officially back. You're welcome.
One of these is going to hit.
It has hit before. one of them has hit.
Did it? My bad. All right. Fair enough. Now it's time for the overtrain. We're going 5-a-side. We're doing it again. I'm going to rethink things. Going 1 for 5 last week. Obviously, not good. All I got is apologies and promises that I will do better this week. The 1 and 5 puts me at, I think, 30 and 46. So we're still in the red, or excuse me, still in the black. But obviously that was a tough week. So we're going to start on Wednesday with the AFC Champions League. So we got to dig deep on Wednesdays sometimes. I didn't really like any of the regular UEFA Champions League. So we're going Asian, Jeonbuk and Bangkok United. That's right, Tyler. That's where we're going. Jeonbuk and Bangkok United are playing on Wednesday. And that will be one of those 2 a.m. wake. I actually think it's at like 4 a.m. So put your little earbud
outrageous. In. And do you actually wake up when this sound goes off?
I do. Just momentarily. I can go right back to sleep. I don't know. Maybe it's a superpower I have. I don't know. Maybe everybody else.
Are you constantly fatigued during the day? Do you
yes.
Are you not able to get it up anymore? Like, do any of these apply to you? Because if they do, then maybe just turn off your notifications at night.
I'm gonna plead the 5th. On Thursday, we're going to go with Europa, Leverkusen, and Molde. Both those teams score. I believe Molde has something to play for, and I think Leverkusen does as well. So I know Molde has a lot to play for.
I
And
think these two teams have something to play for, so put your money down on it.
Well, they both score a bunch of goals. Just chill out. Jeez. Friday, we're going to Australia, A-League, Western Sydney Wanderers, and Adelaide. So I'm giving you guys a lot of middle of the night picks here. Saturday, we are going Bundesliga 2. Paderborn hosting Hansa Rostock in Bundesliga 2 is going to be my pick on Saturday. And then so Sunday, I really went back and forth on this. I didn't know where to go with there were just too many options, but I'm going to go to one of my old trusty favorites in the National League in England. So Hartlepool is hosting Chesterfield. And listen, when they play, Ty, you know what I'm talking about. When they play, millions of goals every single time. Hartlepool, Chesterfield, you know you love it. Let's get back on that
You can
train.
bet on those games?
You can? Oh, yeah. Oh yeah. If you want to bet, somebody's going to let you. Don't worry, because there's a reason.
What app are you on?
I'm on all.
Whichever will take me. Whichever one is willing will let me put in my social security number.
Whoever will extend me just a little bit of credit. That's the way we're going. All right. So we're gonna get back on the overtrain and the thermonuclear gas. That's my hope anyway. Now we'll move on. Finish the episode strong as always with everybody's favorite episode or everybody's favorite segment. Been a long day. Goas. All right. Who wants? I feel like we'll let Aaron go first because I don't want to take. Usually I come with like a whole list. I don't have a whole list this time, but I'll let you go first so nobody takes yours.
Goas, remind me what that is.
The goatest of all week. So basically, you can
go. So I would shout out Nancy just for being the first Black coach ever to win MLS Cup. I think that's fucking sick, huge, super big for people to see. I think so. I would shout him out and just give him his kudos, man.
Well deserved. And as Tyler said, he might not be around long. He might be winning games somewhere else before too long. Okay, good shout out, Dalton or Tyler. We'll go with Tyler. You look like you're nice and rested and ready to
go. I'm gonna stay MLS and I'm gonna go with Darlington Nagbe. I think that this dude now winning his 4th MLS Cup. I think it's impossible to not consider him one of the all-time greats in Major League Soccer history. And the coolest part about it is that he's done it his way. He's done it at multiple different clubs. This is now his 3rd different club. He obviously won it in 2020 with them. Didn't get to play in the final because he had COVID. Has changed positions throughout his career. Has been instrumental in whatever community he's gone to. I've run into him a couple of times, had a couple of conversations with him. He seems like just an awesome guy and super down to earth. Basically said no to the national team because he wanted to spend more time with his family, which I think is, I think a lot of people will hate on that, but like the reality is for a professional athlete and somebody who takes care of himself, it is nonstop 365 days a year. And if you want to spend time with your family during the international break, then that's totally cool. And he just seems like he marches to the beat of his own drum and he beats a pretty good fucking drum too. I'm sure there's some sort of nasty euphemism that Sam Pham could come up with there, but the truth of the matter is that dude can fucking ball and he's probably the best midfielder in Major League Soccer history.
Ooh.
All right. He's probably the toughest guy to defend that I ever defend in the league, I would say. He's just incredible. He's such a beast.
That's what you hear. It's impossible to get the ball off. Right? He can just do anything with it and keep.
Just gotta force him into help.
Yeah. Smart. We got a big brain on you. All right, Dalton, you go and then I'll finish it up.
All right, I'll go Florian Wirtz for Leverkusen. Big fan of this guy. Absolutely sucked last year when he tore his ACL. A lot of people were worried that it was going to like stunt his growth as a player and everything. And so he was out pretty much all last year. Has came back this year. Obviously, Leverkusen are first, and Florian Wirtz is balling again. I know a lot of times whenever like a 20-year-old like him is balling out, we're like, well, where's he going to go? I'm just going to enjoy him at Leverkusen because I am absolutely loving watching Florian Wirtz, and I'm very happy he's seems like fully recovered from that ACL injury and is just as good, if not better, than he's ever been.
Sounds good. Good call out. So I'm going to go the Mitch route, and I'm going to give a good Goa and a bad Goa, as he tends to do. So the bad Goa is pretty easy to pick this week. It is I'm going to butcher the name. Tyler, maybe you can help me out on this one. It's the Turkish league team. I don't know. Listen, you're good with pronunciation. I'm just leaning on you, or at least sort of deflecting some of the blame for what I'm about to do to this team. So Ankaragücü. The U's have lots of little umlauts or dots over them, and God knows what that means to me. But this Turkish league team, they're in the Super League, so in the top league of Turkey. They played a game today, and so they gave up a late equalizer. They drew the game 1-1. After the game, as the players and the refs were walking off the field, the club president and several of his hangers-on came running onto the field, and the president punched the ref right directly in the eyeball. And, the ref fell down. Then some of his little hangers-on kicked the ref. They basically like pummeling him for, a few seconds or whatever. It's a crazy scene, a crazy situation. It's despicable. It's, Turkey, the line between passion and going too far is, it's a thin line, and the Turkish league, who have famously had all sorts of, like, the club president, I think it's in the Turkish league, or maybe it's the Brazilian league, where the president or the owner came out with a gun in his hand or in his pocket. I think that was Turkish league as well. They straddle that line. They really push boundaries. Obviously, Turkey loves them some soccer, and I love that about it. But this is going, way too far. They've had political leaders come out and sort of, say this is too much, obviously, and ridiculous. They have to rethink things. They do. You can't have a club president of all people, running onto the field and punching a referee, and some of his little, underlings going after him as well. I mean, it's a crazy situation. They should be embarrassed. I don't know what FIFA or UEFA can or will do, but they should throw, the kitchen sink at him, because you can't be doing this. And I think in a bigger picture sense, it is like a microcosm of, I don't want to sort of throw all fans under the bus, but everybody complains about refs these days. Everybody says the reffing has gotten, worse, it's gotten terrible, all this stuff. I disagree. I think the reffing probably is as good as it has ever been. The difference is expectations have risen. We got VAR, we got all this, technology. You can see everything that happens on the field, and you can see it in, like, slowed down and from every angle. You got refs out there who are doing the best they can in real time with athletes who have never been as big or as fast, as strong as they are right now. And they're trying to do the best they can in a sport that is so subjective and so difficult to ref, that it's like we need to have like a collective coming together and realize that, this whole attack on the refs, the war on refs basically is what's happening, is not the right thing. And we need to agree that this needs to stop, and we need to take a step back and, give them some relief, and realize that, mistakes happen, number one, and number two, everybody expects like so many decisions to go their way just because we're so biased, and that sort of thing. I'm over it. And hopefully this punching a referee, a club president, hopefully that's a bit of a wake-up call that people need to chill the fuck out with getting on referees. All right, so that's my bad Goa. Good Goa. So there's a team, US Revel. a French league team. They are in the 6th division in France. They just qualified for the round of 64 in the Coupe de France. And I just saw this video before hopping on the podcast where they did the draw to see who they were going to play. And this 6th division team got drawn with PSG, which is, I mean, it's the two worlds coming together, like the biggest of the big and, the smallest of the small. I'm sure they're by far the smallest team left in the competition. And so it's just a cool, that's what these, the Coupe de France or Coupe de France and, FA Cup and that sorts of thing, that this is what the romance is all about when teams like this play each other. And so obviously best of luck to them. Kylian Mbappe might be a bit of a problem, but it's cool to see, and it's a cool video of them seeing that they got drawn with, the biggest of the big in the French league. That's what soccer is all about. So there you go. The best and the worst of soccer all in a few minute span. Thank you, Dalton. Thank you, Tyler. Thank you, Aaron. Really do appreciate you coming back after all this time. Hopefully you'll come back again before 2026 or so. And maybe Chelsea will have some wins in between there. Maybe not.
No doubt.
No, you guys are the best. And everybody, thank you for listening. You guys are as well. We'll see you guys next week.